Imagine a place where the ocean does not simply meet the land, but embraces it in a flawless, glowing ring of impossible colors. Picture a lagoon so bright, so violently beautiful in its shades of cyan, turquoise, and deep indigo, that it looks as though the ocean floor is lit from beneath by a million scattered diamonds. We are traveling to the middle of the South Pacific Ocean, to a speck of land that has captured the collective imagination of the entire world. It is a place that feels less like a geographic location on a map and more like a beautifully constructed dream, a paradise conjured from the depths of human longing. This is Bora Bora. Nicknamed the Pearl of the Pacific, this tiny island, located about 143 miles northwest of Tahiti in French Polynesia, is widely considered the most beautiful island on Earth. But to look at Bora Bora merely as a luxury vacation spot with pretty beaches and overwater bungalows is to entirely miss the profound, violent, and utterly fascinating story of how this paradise came to be. Today, we are going to dive deep into the hidden secrets of Bora Bora. We will uncover its explosive volcanic origins, trace the paths of the ancient Polynesian navigators who first discovered it, seek out the hidden relics of a global world war rusting in its jungles, and explore the breathtaking, fragile biodiversity that thrives beneath its glass-like waters. By the time we are finished, you will understand exactly why this island is not just a pretty face, but a true geological and historical marvel. So, take a deep breath, let the warm Polynesian breeze wash over your imagination, and listen closely, because we are about to explore the unrivaled magic of Bora Bora. To truly understand the beauty of Bora Bora, you have to travel back in time. Not just hundreds or thousands of years, but over 3 million years into the chaotic past of our planet. Bora Bora is not just an island, it is the sinking ghost of an ancient, massive volcano. Our story begins deep beneath the crushing pressure of the Pacific Ocean, at a crack in the Earth's crust known as a volcanic hotspot. Millions of years ago, a massive shield volcano erupted from the ocean floor, spewing millions of tons of molten basaltic lava into the freezing depths. Layer by layer, eruption by terrifying eruption, this seamount grew taller and taller until it finally breached the surface of the Pacific, rising violently into the sky in dark clouds of ash, fire, and steam. During the Upper Pliocene epoch, between 3.4 and 3.1 million years ago, this fiery mountain stood thousands of feet higher than the island we see today. It was a barren, hostile peak of black rock. But the Earth is constantly in motion. The massive Pacific tectonic plate, drifting slowly toward the northwest at a speed of about 4 inches per year, carried the volcano away from the subterranean hotspot that birthed it. Once the supply of magma was permanently cut off, the volcano died. And as soon as it died, two relentless, unstoppable forces began to tear it apart: erosion from the sky, and subsidence from the deep. Under its own immense, crushing weight, the dead volcano began to slowly sink back into the ocean floor, subsiding just a few millimeters every single year. As the mountain sank, the relentless tropical wind and rain carved deep, dramatic valleys and razor-sharp ridges into its sides. Today, what we see is the breathtaking Mount Otemanu, soaring 2,385 feet into the sky, and its rugged sister peak Mount Pahia, are just the eroded, jagged remnants of the center of that ancient, collapsed caldera. But as the island sank toward its watery grave, a miracle of biology was taking place around its edges. The legendary naturalist Charles Darwin himself was the first to properly explain this fascinating phenomenon. He realized that as a volcanic island sinks, tiny marine organisms called coral polyps begin to build reefs along the rocky shoreline. These corals are living creatures that rely on symbiotic algae, which need sunlight to survive. So, as the island goes down, the corals are forced to continuously build upward, literally stacking their limestone skeletons on top of their ancestors in a desperate race to reach the light of the sun. Over millions of years, the central volcano sinks further and further away from the outer reef, leaving a wide, shallow, sunlit lagoon between the sinking mountain and the living coral wall. This is exactly how a fringing reef evolves into a barrier reef. The stunning lagoon of Bora Bora, which is actually 3 times the size of the island's landmass, is the direct, spectacular result of this epic, millions of years-long battle between a sinking mountain and a rising coral fortress. The motus, those picture-perfect tiny islets of bright white sand and coconut palms that sit elegantly on the reef, are the crowns of this biological architecture. Long before European galleons or modern jets ever crossed the Pacific, the greatest explorers in human history found their way to this sinking volcano. Around the 3rd or 4th century, ancient Polynesian navigators arrived on these shores. These were a people who possessed a staggering, almost superhuman mastery of the ocean. They did not have compasses, sextants, or GPS systems. Instead, they sailed massive, double-hulled wooden canoes across thousands of miles of open, terrifying ocean using only their deep connection to nature. They navigated by mapping the stars in their minds, reading the migratory flights of seabirds, feeling the temperature of the water, and reading the subtle, bouncing patterns of the ocean swells as they deflected off distant landmasses. When they finally laid eyes on the towering, jagged peaks of Mount Otemanu rising above the vibrant, protective lagoon, they believed they had found something divine. In the ancient Tahitian language, the island was named Pora Pora Maite Pora. This translates beautifully and powerfully to, created by the gods, or simply, firstborn. Over time, the name was shortened to Bora Bora. Because the native Tahitian language does not utilize the letter B, it was only when European explorers arrived centuries later and misheard the locals that the island officially became known to the rest of the world as Bora Bora. The ancient Polynesians built a thriving, highly complex society here, sustained by the rich abundance of fish in the lagoon and the incredibly fertile volcanic soil of the valleys. They constructed massive open-air stone temples, known as Marae, along the coastlines to honor their deities. If you venture into the dense tropical foliage of Bora Bora today, carefully stepping through the overgrown jungle, you can still find the haunting, moss-covered remnants of over 20 of these sacred ancient sites. The most important was Marae Fair Rua, located on Farapiti Point. Its massive altar, surrounded by stone slabs erected over 9 feet high and stretching nearly 150 feet long, still commands respect. These were places of intense spiritual power, known as mana, where high priests communicated with the gods, where sacred ceremonies were held, and where the destiny of the island's tribes was decided. The mythology of Bora Bora is literally carved into the very landscape. According to local legend, the creation of the island is intrinsically tied to a sacred sea turtle. Deep in the Tiipoto caldera, there is a massive stone naturally shaped like a turtle known as Awhaihonu. Ancient petroglyphs depicting turtles are carved deeply into its surface. To the early Polynesians, the sea turtle was an animal of immense spiritual significance, a liminal creature that could cross the boundary between the mortal ocean and the divine realm, and they offered it only to the highest of their gods. For centuries, the warriors and kings of Bora Bora lived in fierce independence, completely isolated from the Western world. It wasn't until the year 1722 that the Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen became the first European to spot the island's majestic peaks on the horizon. Decades later, in 1769, the legendary British explorer Captain James Cook sighted the island with the indispensable help of a brilliant Tahitian navigator named Tupaia. But even as European missionaries, whalers, and traders began to flood the South Pacific, bringing with them new religions, new technologies, and unfortunately devastating new diseases, Bora Bora remained a fiercely independent kingdom, violently resisting foreign rule. It wasn't until 1888 that the French finally annexed the island, forcing its last reigning monarch, Queen Terimaevarua III, to abdicate her throne forever. But the most jarring and surreal chapter in Bora Bora's history was still to come, and it arrived not on a wooden galleon, but on a massive fleet of gray steel warships. In the chaotic, terrifying days following the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the United States military was desperate to secure its vital supply lines across the vast, vulnerable expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Military strategists looked at a map and realized that the deep, protected lagoon of Bora Bora, with its single, highly defensible break in the reef known as the Tivanui Pass, was the absolute perfect location for a secret refueling base. In early 1942, a massive military operation codenamed Bobcat was launched. Almost overnight, the sleepy, isolated island of Bora Bora was invaded by nearly 5,000 American soldiers. For a local population of just a few hundred Polynesians living a traditional lifestyle, this was an apocalyptic culture shock. The Americans brought massive earth-moving equipment, roaring jeeps, electricity, Coca-Cola, and a frantic pace of construction the island had never witnessed. They built a massive airstrip on Mount Otemanu, which for decades afterward would serve as French Polynesia's only international airport. They constructed seaplane bases, extensive road networks, massive oil depots, and heavily fortified defensive positions. To protect the vital Tivanui Pass from the looming threat of Japanese submarines and warships, the American troops utilized incredible engineering to haul massive, 7-inch naval guns up the steep, treacherous, mud-slicked volcanic hillsides. But the war, thankfully, never came to Bora Bora. The Japanese never attacked. The island served out the entirety of the Second World War as a peaceful, incredibly idyllic supply hub. When the military base was officially closed in 1946, the Americans packed up and left, but they couldn't take everything with them. Today, if you know where to look, and if you are willing to hire a local guide to hike up the sweltering, mosquito-filled jungle trails of the island's interior, you will suddenly stumble upon these massive, rusting steel cannons. There are 8 of them left. They sit there silently, covered in thick green vines and vibrant tropical flowers, aiming blindly out over the most beautiful lagoon in the world. They are bizarre, haunting, and deeply fascinating monuments to a global conflict that briefly touched paradise and then vanished like a passing storm. But the true rulers of Bora Bora are not the ghosts of ancient kings, nor the rusting relics of foreign armies. The true rulers live beneath the surface of the water. The lagoon of Bora Bora is not just a body of water, it is a thriving, hyperactive metropolis of marine biodiversity. It is widely considered by marine biologists to be one of the most remarkable natural aquariums on the planet. Because the entire island is surrounded by that unbroken necklace of coral reefs, the inner lagoon is perfectly protected from the violent, crushing swells of the open Pacific Ocean. The water here is shallow, comfortably warm, and remarkably calm, creating the absolute perfect nursery and habitat for thousands of incredible species. The jaw-dropping colors you see from the surface, the pastel greens, the piercing turquoise, the deep indigos, are not just tricks of the light. They are physically dictated by the varying depths of the sandy bottom and the massive, sprawling coral gardens that blanket the ocean floor. Dive beneath the surface, and you enter a world of profound silence and spectacular, vibrant chaos. You are instantly surrounded by kaleidoscopic clouds of tropical fish. There are neon-colored butterflyfish, elegant angelfish, and bulky parrotfish equipped with beak-like teeth. These parrotfish actually bite off hard chunks of coral, digest the algae, and excrete the crushed limestone as the incredibly fine, powder-white sand that makes up the island's world-famous beaches. But the lagoon is also a sanctuary for the gentle giants of the ocean. It is one of the few places in the entire world where majestic manta rays, with incredible wingspans reaching up to 15 feet, come to glide gracefully through the shallow waters. They gather at specific underwater, cleaning stations, hovering like massive alien spacecraft while tiny wrasse fish pick parasites off their skin and out of their gills, a beautiful display of underwater symbiosis and mutual trust. If you wade into the shallow, crystal-clear sandy areas near the outer motus, you will find yourself completely surrounded by gentle southern stingrays that brush past your legs like affectionate aquatic cats. Cruising right alongside them are blacktip reef sharks, apex predators that slice through the shallows with terrifying speed but show a complete, peaceful indifference to the humans swimming above them. Outside the protective barrier reef, in the dark, plunging depths of the open ocean, the marine life becomes even more massive and awe-inspiring. Large lemon sharks tirelessly patrol the steep drop-offs, and between the months of July and November, the deep blue waters around Bora Bora echo with the haunting, complex, and beautiful songs of migrating humpback whales. These incredible mammals traveled thousands of miles from the freezing, nutrient-rich waters of the Antarctic all the way to French Polynesia to mate, socialize, and give birth to their calves in the warm, safe, predator-free Polynesian waters. Today, Bora Bora is famous worldwide as the absolute pinnacle of luxury tourism. It is the spiritual home and birthplace of the modern Overwater Bungalow, a brilliant architectural concept created in the late 1960s by three American friends known as the WWII Boys. They wanted to give visitors a way to look directly down into the vibrant lagoon without ever leaving the comfort of their rooms. Now, these thatched roof villas, stretching out over the glittering water on sturdy wooden stilts, are the defining, iconic image of romantic escapism. But this modern paradise is incredibly fragile, and its survival is not guaranteed. The living coral reefs, which literally hold the island together and protect the shoreline from being swallowed by the relentless ocean, are highly vulnerable to rising sea temperatures, ocean acidification, and the looming threat of climate change. To protect this unrivaled, priceless beauty, there is a massive, urgent push for sustainable tourism. Luxury resorts are increasingly implementing strict eco-friendly practices, banning single-use plastics, and adopting solar energy. Marine biologists and passionate locals are actively growing new coral fragments in underwater nurseries, carefully transplanting them to rebuild damaged sections of the reef. The people of Bora Bora know that their island is a treasure borrowed from future generations. Bora Bora is so much more than a beautiful postcard, a screensaver, or a fleeting vacation destination. It is a masterpiece painted by millions of years of violent geology and slow, persistent biological evolution. It is a massive volcanic mountain that was born in fire, slowly sinking into the dark abyss, only to be saved by the tireless, microscopic work of coral polyps reaching for the sun. It is a sacred sanctuary discovered by the bravest, most skilled navigators the world has ever known. It is a place that briefly, surrealistically hosted the heavy machinery of a world war, and today, it stands as a vibrant, living ecosystem that holds some of the ocean's most majestic and endangered creatures. When you look out over the lagoon of Bora Bora, when you see that impossible, heartbreaking shade of blue perfectly contrasting with the jagged, emerald-green spire of Mount Otemanu, you're looking at a fleeting, magical moment in the Earth's long history. It is a delicate, perfect balance between the destructive power of nature and its unparalleled, stubborn ability to create profound beauty. It reminds us that the most breathtaking places on our planet are often the result of unimaginable time, sheer chance, and relentless resilience. Whether you are captivated by the silent, rusting cannons hidden in the jungle canopy, the ancient stone temples standing proudly on the shore, the massive manta rays dancing gracefully in the tidal current, or simply the unparalleled feeling of the warm white sand between your toes as the sun sets over the Pacific, Bora Bora leaves a permanent, undeniable mark on your soul. It is a paradise that commands absolute respect, gently demanding that we not only admire its overwhelming beauty, but that we fight fiercely to protect it. Thank you for joining this journey to the Pearl of the Pacific. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the stunning Pearl of the Pacific, and want to uncover the fascinating secrets, hidden histories, and unbelievable geology of more beautiful locations across our incredible planet, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and let me know down in the comments exactly where we should explore next.